Search for us on social media. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I think it's time. It's time to mix it up.
Hey, dumbass.
Oh, me?
Use your smartphone and download our free iPhone and Android app to take us with you.
Okay. Can you please get off my lawn?
Located in an underground bunker somewhere in Madison, Indiana, is a different kind of podcast. Welcome to Loudmouth with your host, Dean Stidham.
And hey, everyone, welcome. It is Saturday evening. It actually is 8:24 to be exact. I'm about 3.5 hours behind schedule. I apologize, but it is good to know. I don't think too many people tune in live anyway. Debated whether to even do a show tonight, but I did promise I would. So I'm going to give it a shot the best I can. And a little bit under the weather, as you can tell. A lot of things going on personally with me, but I'm not going to get into that. A lot of things going on with a lot of us today in the great US of A. I haven't watched any news today. That's the first either. I actually quit watching last night around probably 10 o'clock. And so I'm not real sure what's going on up to the moment. But I could check it over here. But I'm just going to go with what I got. I've got a lot of thoughts I want to share with you. Some personal thoughts. The police officer situation going on. I truly don't understand it. But that being said, I worked in EMS, as a lot of you know, for many, many years. I worked hand in hand with local police officers. I actually had one on that was related last week. I also like to thank you all for all the hits we got on that show. Tons of them. Fantastic. He was my number one guest at this point in time, and I appreciate that. Of course, talking about Officer David Stidham. And Dave, of course, related to me, and I feel sometimes like he's a brother. Anyway, enough on that. What I really want to say... It started off Black Lives Matter. I think Black Lives Matter. I think all lives matter. I think you'll agree with me on that. But, getting back to our police officers, I mean, this is getting absolutely, to me, it's a no-brainer. It's getting totally ridiculous. We got to have police officers. If we don't, why did we ever start law enforcement to begin with, folks? Without law and order, we have absolutely nothing. We're here out to defend for ourselves. And trust me, a lot of people I know could probably do a pretty good job of that. There's quite a bit of arsenal out there. But anyway, I've had my run-ins, as I mentioned earlier, my differences with some of our local police officers. For the most part, I know these guys, they do what they do because they have a passion. Folks, I'm going to be totally honest. They don't do it for the damn money, that's for sure. And I know our mayor is working on that all the time, and I appreciate that. I'm sure the officers appreciate it. Most frontline people do not do what they do for the money because they have a passion. I do say most. I won't say all. Some people get into it because they probably want to have that authority trip. I don't know. There's bad apples. Some people don't like to use that term because they say apples taste good. Well, I'm not a big apple fan, so I'll use the term apple. There are some bad apples. And we do need some type of reform, possibly. Maybe the unions need to be looked at a little bit stronger. Maybe when an officer does wrong, and he has, 20 different episodes where people have complained about him, it needs to be looked at. I mean, I know when I worked in EMS, if there was any complaint on me by any patient, they dealt with it immediately. And I think they should. With that being said, we didn't have a union. And I don't think the local law enforcement has a union either, so things are probably handled different. But it's a local, state, then it's a national issue. But we have to have law enforcement. And with them taking down some of these shows, Cops, Live PD, I don't get it. The Live PD, I understand, is because they're showing our officers in a positive light. And a lot of people on the left, and trust me, most media moguls are liberals. I know that from way back working in radio myself. So I think that's where a lot of that stems from. But think about it, folks. Think about what our police do. While we are home during the COVID-19 bunkered down, watching Netflix and Hulu and Amazon and all the other good stuff that we watch, these guys were out protecting us. They were going into homes with domestic situations where there could be COVID-19. They didn't stop because of that. They didn't say, ooh, I'm not going in there. They had no choice. That's what they chose to do, and that's what they do. So many things. Traffic traffic stopping, that's a different story. I think they were lax on that. I wish they could possibly lax up a little bit on that, but that's just my opinion. But there are a lot of bad people. There's bad black people. There's bad white people. There's bad Asian people. We can go on and on and on. We all know that. I think it goes back to the home itself. But there will be a time, or will there be a time, when I won't even be able to own a black vehicle due to the fact of possibly being accused of being a racist person. Now, with that being said, I am going to share a personal story, a couple of them real quick. I'm 61 years old. I come from a little bit of a different time than a lot of you. And my dad had probably some racism in him. And I remember a story he told me a long time ago that helped change his mind toward the black people in America. He said that we were stranded. I was a little guy. I don't remember this. He said we were stranded on the east side of the interstate. Now, he worked for the state highway department, but we were not in, of course, a vehicle. We were in a private vehicle. And we were stranded. No one stopped to help till one vehicle finally did. And it was a black gentleman. I do not recall his name. I wished I could. But anyway, long story short, he not only helped us, he took us to his home. He helped us get our car pulled. And they met up again and had a dinner together. And it changed my dad's aspect on black people. One person changed his persona. Now, with that being said, I don't remember my dad ever making racist comments, but I do know he came from, different part of, came from Kentucky. And back in the day, there was more racism. There was a lot of racism back in the late 50s and early 60s. Martin Luther King helped change a lot of that. But, we apologized. I think we apologized. And what we did was wrong. There's no doubt about it. Slavery there's no way to ever condone slavery. But we got to quit beating the hell out of each other over this. I've not interviewed yet one black person on this show. I'm in probably my 30-something show. And I'll be honest with you, I'm a little fearful for the fact that I might say something that might offend them, that might be construed as being racist. And that's not a comfortable place to be. And I say that because I want to share a personal story now. I remember a few years back, my son was telling me about a good friend of his and said he's going to be coming over later. And I said, that's fine, son. I said, we have no problem with that. I said, if he's hungry, he can spend the night, whatever. Because our house has always been open. When he showed up, I was a little taken back. He was black. And, super nice young man, super nice, very polite, very well-mannered, very well-raised. But later on, I asked my son, I said, because I know my son wasn't colorblind. I said, why didn't you tell me he was black? And he looked at me and he said, I didn't think it mattered. He said, did it matter? I said, no, it didn't matter. But I said, I just thought it was something you would mention. And he looked at me and said, Dad, why are you racist? And that really made me stop and think. Why did it matter? And as sad as it is to say, I took a step back that day and I never really truly thought of myself as being racist, but that without a doubt was a very racist comment. But anyway, that gentleman's out there listening. He's going to know who I'm talking about now, and I'm sorry that you had to hear that, but you were a fantastic young man then, and I've understood you grown up to be a great father. And but I did want to share that with you. So there are things that we can say. It's all about perspective, and we all probably need to take a step back once in a while. But anyway, I truly believe our police are very, very important to all of us. Now, once again, you're hearing so much stuff, and we're going to get into this a little bit more later on, especially when I start talking about Al Sharpton, a man I have no use for myself. But anyway, I want to play this. This was a cut that we played last week, but on YouTube it was not heard. I believe I have my settings right, and I do apologize again. I'm 3 hours late behind my show, but I do it all, folks. I'm the engineer. I have no teleprompter, as you can tell. These are my notes. So I just do the best I can do. But anyway, I want to play this cut. This is a Chicago mayor. This is her. She's a black lady. The reason I mention that is because of the comment she makes. I would wonder how it would be taken if it had been a white mayor making the same comment about our previous president. Anyway, I wanted to play this clip for you. I think this has since been taken down, but this is the Chicago mayor right here.
Let me say one other thing. Donald Trump's comment last night was profoundly dangerous. And we must stand in firm solidarity and say this is totally unacceptable, no matter who is the speaker. And folks, we see the game he's playing because it's so transparent and he's not very good at it. He wants to show failures on the part of Democratic local leaders to throw red meat to his base. His goal is to polarize, to destabilize local government and inflame racist urges. And we can absolutely not let him prevail. And I will code what I really want to say to Donald Trump. It's 2 words. It begins with F and it ends with U.
Now, that's not called for. When our politicians, and I get it, we have a president and he's very brash. He speaks his mind. And even though I support President Trump, he'll make you nervous at times, some of the things that he's going to say, but he speaks his mind. And I guess we got to give her credit for that. But really, to be calling each other out, and it gets even better. I'm sure some of you have heard this clip. This is Mayor Lightfoot. This lady is, I believe, out of Atlanta. I have so many clips and so many notes in front of me. I didn't actually write down the actual. It's either she's either Washington. I don't know. You folks out there know, but I just want you to hear this. This is her and an alderman. This clip I think has since been taken down due to the fact of the language. This is pretty rough stuff, but I thought you should hear this and this little back and forth. And I think this is, by the way, this was not supposed to have been aired. It was supposed to not been a hot mic type situation, but somebody recorded the phone call and, well, here's how it went.
We can't expect our police, and I don't fault them at all, to be able to control this. But I know that we asked our faith base yesterday to stand at the front line between police and looters and rioters. And I'm simply not comfortable telling my churches, those people, to be the intermediary in the middle of a riot that's citywide. We need something better, because right now we only have 370 whatever National Guards on standby. Half our neighborhoods are already obliterated. It's too late. We have to come up with a better plan, because my fear is once they're done looting and rioting and whatever's going to happen tonight, God help us, what happens when they start going after residents, going into the neighborhoods? Once they start trying to break down people's doors so they think they got something, or, we know that people are here to antagonize and incite, and you've got them all pumped today, they're not going to go to bed at 8 o'clock. They're going to turn their focus in the neighborhoods. I've got gangbangers with AK-47s walking around right now, just waiting to settle some scores. What are we going to do, and what do we tell our residents other than good faith people stand up? It's not going to be enough.
Thank you, Alderman. Next question.
Well, no, I want an answer. You commented on everybody. I want an answer. It's not something you ignore. This is a question that I have.
I think you're 100% full of shit, is what I think. If you think
no offense, fuck you then.
Hold on.
Who are you to tell me I'm full of shit?
And if you think we were not ready and we stood by and let the neighborhood go up, there's nothing intelligent that I can say to you.
Well, maybe you should come out and see what's going on.
It's the stupidest thing I have ever heard. I understand you want to preen. I understand that you think that you...
Mayor, you need to check your fucking ass.
Okay, guys, we're going to go ahead and take that clip. We're going to go ahead and cut that clip. I think we've heard enough, and we get the gist of that. That was an alderman talking to the mayor, and wow. And I understand, guys, it gets heated. I mean, I've had some meetings with my boss before, and it got a little heated, and I always appreciated him allowing me to air my differences, but that's pretty wild stuff when you think of a mayor. But anyway, I don't want to throw him too far under the bus there, but I just thought that was something you should hear, and I'm sure a lot of you probably have. By the way, I think that has been taken down since I got that clip. Now, moving right along, Obama, he talks about a police referendum and racism, and he says it is still a problem. In racism, I don't know if we'll ever truly get rid of it. I think we would if we'd quit talking about it myself, especially with the situation I went through with my own son when he looked at me and he was so serious. He said, "Dad, does it matter?" And he made such a good point. I think if we would just let our young people just grow and just quit talking about it every day, I think it would eventually. I think it'd be a lot better. And but how he could make a comment like that? I mean, President Obama was black, and he wasn't elected. One term; he was actually elected 2 terms. So, I mean, we have moved. Trust me, from back when I was younger, we've moved a long way in the right direction. But with that being said, all the things that have been going on, the rioting, we can't allow people to take our cities over. I don't care if it's 4 blocks, 2 blocks, 1 block, and 5 blocks. I agree, Black Lives Matter, as I agree all lives matter. But folks, if you think this is about Black lives, I think you need to really start digging a little deeper, because for 5 blocks to be taken over in a city, folks, that's organized. Somebody is paying for this, because you just don't go out and clear out a precinct and take over 5 blocks. That's my opinion, and I have a few other people that probably think the same way as I do, and I'm going to back that up with a gentleman here in just a few minutes. His name is Terry Churchy, and he's got a new book coming out. I suggest you strongly take a look at it. It's got some pretty interesting stuff and some pretty scary stuff as well. I also want to play a clip. This is the Hodge twins. I don't know how many of you are familiar with them. These guys are fantastic. And this clip was supposed to have aired. Now, it aired on the audio side last week. It didn't make it to the YouTube due to the bad audio, which I try to apologize for, but I still am so mad over that. But anyway, this is what these guys had to say last week. I thought you might want to hear this.
All lives matter. Man, you got to tell them why all lives matter. Indeed. No, that should be obvious. All lives do matter. You got to explain this to people. All lives matter. You would never see me walking down the road with a damn Black Lives Matter sign. If you do, I got a gun to my head. And I'm just trying to survive. Hey, look here. As black men, black Americans. I'm not African American, I'm a black American. I was never born in Africa. Yeah, I'm a proud American, right? Whatever. You got that? Yeah, I'm not from Africa, I've never been to Africa. Yeah. I don't know nothing about Africa. Okay, I don't speak African, I don't know any African history. I know some American history. Because you're American. Because I'm American. But look here, this whole Black Lives Matter, why I can't get down with this organization? Main reason, your whole narrative that police officers are hunting down black men on a daily. Yeah, like it's a purge, right? Is that Black Lives Matter, that was built on a lie. Remember this? Hands up. Don't shoot. Yeah, Mr. Brown, the guy that got Ferguson riots. That initially, when that story broke, they said the cops just got out the car and just started shooting. Hands up, don't shoot. That was a lie. That was witnesses. That's why that cop didn't go down for that, because there was white and black witnesses that came out and said, no, this dude was out of control. That was a fight for us, like he had to kill him. Yeah. So, but you know what? The thing is, when it comes about police shootings and police brutality, let me break it down for you. In the white community, when a white man is shot and killed by the cops and he's unarmed, white people don't trip. Because when he read the narrative, when he found out the real story, he attacked the police officer. He tried to take his gun. Everybody in the white community will say he deserves to get shot. Yeah. You know, the police officers are trying to protect himself. Yeah. In the black community, that same story, that same narrative, he shot an unarmed black man. He didn't have to kill him. He was unarmed. White people hold their own communities to a high standard than black. Just because you unarmed doesn't mean that shooting was not justified. Yeah. You grab a man's gun, what do you think's gonna happen? Yeah. You attack a police officer, jumps in his car, and start punching him in the face. You deserve to get shot, man. Yeah. Jeez. I mean, come on, people. And you gotta realize what the media is doing to you. That Black Lives Matter organization is just to keep black folks upset because the Democrats want you to vote for the Democrats. Yeah, that's the whole point of this organization, is keep black people pissed off. Yeah. So they can keep you enslaved mentally, like you need them. Yeah. Because they're supposed to be y'all saviors. They're not trying to fix any issues in your community. No. They just want to keep y'all pissed off so y'all be indebted to them because supposedly they're going to clean this up for you. Yeah. They're going to give you your reparations. They're going to make your life better. Yeah. Ain't nobody going to make your life better except you. Except you. What if the Democrat Party woke up and they stopped preaching race and identity politics? The Democratic Party would be signing their own death warrant. You won't need them anymore. If black people woke up and say, I don't need the government, I don't need the Democrats, I don't need Republicans, I just need to make good decisions, stay out of trouble, and work hard, I can achieve anything I want in my life. Yeah. If black people woke up and did that, you don't need the Democrats. You don't need Republicans. Yeah. If y'all like Black Lives Matter, Black lives only matter when a white person takes a life. Yeah. Like this is a perfect example of what's been happening over these riots. Yeah. 2 police officers have died at the hands of rioters. They're both black, dedicated their lives to their communities. Yeah. More black people have died since these riots. And where's Black Lives Matter? Because it's not about saving black lives. It's about pushing this agenda on black people's minds, keeping them enslaved. That's the whole point of this.
Some well-made points there. I apologize for the phone ringing. I thought I had that on silence. Hope I do now, but if it does, we'll get to it. But anyway, I thought that was real well said. And those guys, I thought, hit the nail on the head. And I think there are a couple of stand-up guys myself. I'm not sure what you think. But anyway, I thought you might want to hear that. You know, a couple of things I think could help our police department. Oh, by the way, I learned right before hitting the air this evening that 9 specialized SWAT officers in Florida, they resigned today. And there's going to be a lot more of that going on. If we don't start respecting these guys, can you imagine what it'd be like to be a police officer? I one time would have really liked to be a police officer. I thought my cousin who was on last week, I thought Dave was a fantastic officer. And he has a nephew that's a fantastic officer that I hope to get a chance maybe to ride with someday. But, you know, guys, and anybody, I would welcome anybody, as Dave did. They said, you know, unless the policy's changed, get a hold of chief of police here in Madison, John Wallace, and set it up. They'll let you ride with these guys, see what they go through. I think you might be shocked. But with all that being said, you know, we can do a lot of things. There's a lot of things that we do have control over, but one thing that we don't sometimes have control over is what people think. All we can do is try to help them understand what it is we are thinking. But you can't always control what they think. Now, I think sometimes we're so busy sharing tweets and texts and messaging that we lose the ability, especially on Facebook, to truly think for ourselves. So many people are busy sharing this clip or sharing that clip. And I do that because some things people are better. They say it a lot better than I can. Some things I think possibly could help. I think it would help to revamp some of the police, especially in the big cities. And I talked about that earlier. Maybe black cops just police black neighborhoods. I mean, maybe I'm really reaching here, but it's an idea. Also, what about? And I never thought I'd say this, but what about just legalizing all drugs? Just legalize them all. Think how much time is spent by officers trying to stop the drug trafficking, and now with our new laws, it seems like anybody gets arrested. Just like in the situation last week, one of the looters was arrested 4 times in one day and set out due to no bond, and he actually was arrested the 4th time for actually robbing a place, a business. That was the week 150 businesses were destroyed. So, you know, just some things to think about. And also, if cops were allowed to be sued, that's a tough one. I'm sure a lot of cops are going to shut up, you know, but if cops are allowed to be sued, maybe that would help. But with that being said, then you should be allowed to sue any other public official as well. And, you know, the unions are so strong in the cities that if a cop does wrong, I guess the union is quick to protect them. And the people that are in charge of deciding whether if the cop did wrong or not is a person who is put there by the union. That's a problem. But in the same token, we have problems with our teachers' unions. When you have a teacher who's been accused of being a pedophile, and it's been proven, but he's not fired. He's not allowed to teach or be around kids anymore, but he's allowed, I guess, to come in and go into a room and play video games all day. He still draws a check. That's a hell of a strong union, and I think that's a problem. But anyway, that's just my take on a little bit of what's going on. I want to take a 30-second or 40, maybe a 60-second break here. It's a PSA, public service announcement, and we're going to be back. Got a good show I want to talk to you about. It's Uncle Tom. In fact, let's just go ahead and we'll listen to that first. This will be coming out. I think this will be coming out June 19th. In fact, I'm going to back up. I'm going to play the PSA first, and we'll do the Uncle Tom right after that. We'll be right back.
All lives matter.
For every winning team, a key to success is learn the playbook. That's true in football, and it's also true as we take on the coronavirus. The spread of the coronavirus is a serious matter, but there's a game plan for keeping residents as safe as possible. Everyone has a role to play as we face this challenge together. Cover your cough with your elbow like this. Wash your hands thoroughly, a full 20 seconds. If you're sick, stay home. If you think you should be tested, phone your health provider first. Avoid close contact with anyone who's sick. Protect your at-risk family members, including the elderly. If you're not at risk, take care as you go about your daily business. Get the facts now from coronavirus.gov and your state health department. We're all in this together. Let's team up to protect our health.
And there you go. Now, this next clip was pre-recorded, and it was pre-recorded. Fantastic clip, and you can get more information on this. It'll be newsbusters.org if you want to hear the entire clip, and I strongly suggest you do. There's some fantastic actors in here speaking their mind about what they think about racism. This runs for a few minutes, but anyway, this is pre-recorded with me along with the clip showing and telling you my personal views. But once again, that's newsbusters.org. That's where this clip comes from. This next clip here, it's a little long, but I thought it was important that you hear this. We'll intermittently stop it when we think it is something that you really need to hear. But we're going to start it off with, first of all, it'll be Morgan Freeman talking. And this is what the left won't tell you about the plight of Black people and the myth of systemic racism.
Race plays a part in wealth distribution, or either a mindset that you can't.
Today?
Cannot, yeah.
No.
You don't?
No, I don't. Hey, you and I, we're proof. Why would race have anything to do with it? Put your mind to what you want to do and go for that. It's kind of like religion to me. It's a good excuse for not getting there.
Where are we in the United States of America in race relations and what you see from day to day in your life?
Now, real quick here, this is concerning Kaepernick taking a knee, and here you're getting ready to hear a response from here is Lil Wayne.
Skip, they wouldn't want to ask me that. They wouldn't want my answer to represent it because God knows I have been nothing but blessed. My whole path, these 33 years have been nothing but a blessing. I have never, never is a strong word, I've never dealt with racism, and I'm glad I didn't have to.
There is a class of colored people who make a business of keeping the troubles, the wrongs, and the hardships of the Negro race before the public. Some of these people do not want the Negro to lose his grievances because they do not want to lose their jobs. There is a certain class of race problem solvers who don't want the patient to get well. That was said by Booker T. Washington.
How are we going to get rid of racism until...
Stop talking about it. I'm going to stop calling you a white man.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you to stop calling me a Black man.
You know, it's frustrating to me that people take race and they make it personal. You know what I mean? Like we're at a loss in this generation. If you look at it in the 80s, Archie Bunker was a stark racist. Stark. If you don't know who Archie Bunker is, look him up. All in the Family, great show. The Jeffersons, stark racist. Fred Sanford, stark racist. But you know what Black people and white people did? They laughed. You watch 48 Hours with Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte. Both of them hated each other because he was Black and because he was white. You know what they did? They laughed.
But I asked you what the racial breakdown was of your audience. Do you remember this? You told me The only black face you could see in the whole audience was your makeup artist. I believe that's what you said. And she was in the front row, right? A lot of white kids love rap.
Yes.
Explain that. What does that say to you? What's the message of it? What's the bigger picture of it?
I don't want to be bashed because I don't want to sound like I'm on the wrong if there is a side, but I thought that was clearly a message that there was no such thing as racism. That's what I thought that was.
You know, I said, and it's probably get me in trouble, but I said to some of my colleagues recently, so I know that it's an issue, but it seems like every single day on television, I'm talking about race, and it's because of the news cycle, it's in the news, but sometimes I get so tired of talking about it. I want to just go, this is over. Can we move on?
And if you talk about it, it exists.
Right.
Yeah. It's not like it exists and we refuse to talk about it, but.
By the way, we're back to Morgan Freeman again here, and I'm not sure if you're aware because you're just getting the audio on this. This is Don Lemon interviewing him. This is really a great piece. This runs about 12 minutes. I want to run a few more minutes of it, and then we'll get back to some more of what we have going on today. But this is really a great piece. You can Google this. It's called What the Left Won't Tell You About the Plight of Black People and the Myth of Systemic Racism. I do want to also apologize. It's not Lil Wayne. That's the whiteness in me coming out, I guess. And there was definitely a racist comment, and I apologize for that. But it's Lil Wayne. My son would absolutely smack me upside the head if he heard me call him Lil Wayne. There's nothing little about that guy. Anyway, I'm going to play a little bit more of this. But you're listening to Morgan Freeman, and this is Don Lemon a few years ago. Yeah, this wouldn't be Don Lemon today.
Making it a bigger issue than it needs to be is the problem we have.
And right now, we are in a society where we can't have a conversation because no one's willing to listen.
People are just shouting.
People are just
Whatever
shouting. People are walking down the street, hashtagging everything, but no one's listening.
Using wrong examples to present an argument leads us nowhere forward. I understand the emotion and I respect my opposition. But when you go into the areas of making false charges and living in the past, you do not address the issues of the present.
And, you know, incarceration rates in America has been a problem, especially as opposed to minorities. And Roman delves into this, the issues around the legal system. Do you think we've made any headway in the
I think
legal
it's more important to make headway in our own house. By the time the system comes into play, the damage is done. They're not locking up 7-year-olds.
In the 1960s, 80+% of Blacks were two-parent homes. Today, that is reversed completely the other way.
I was in Chicago a couple of 3-4 weeks ago.
By the way, who you're listening to here, of course, most of you probably figured it out. This is Denzel Washington, and this was his take.
And we saw these little kids on bikes with masks on the side of their head, like 5 or 6 of them. And the driver said, yeah, they're little yummies. I said, who? He said, little yummies. Look up, Google Lil Yummy. Lil Yummy was an 11-year-old murderer.
Wow.
And you look at his picture, you'll see the headshot of him, and he's like this. And he got murdered at 11 by a 14-year-old.
Wow.
Who's doing life now, and a 16-year-old.
That makes no sense.
You blame the system? Where was his father?
No one wants to talk about perception when it comes to racial profiling. No one wants to talk about stereotypes when it comes to racial profiling.
Blacks are convinced that the number one issue facing the country right now is social justice, racist white cops, discrimination, systemic racism, microaggression, whatever new word they come up with. And it's a bunch of nonsense.
This is what I know. I'm a certified scuba diver. My first day of class, they told me this. When you're in shark-infested waters, everything in that water is considered a threat until proven otherwise. If it's a guppy, it could be a shark until you know it's a guppy. And I think as Black men, we need to realize we're in shark-infested waters. And if we don't sit our young men down and we don't talk to them about perception, and we don't talk to them about stereotypes, we're doing them a huge disservice.
It starts in the house. It starts in the home. And yeah, well, my father got locked up. Well, where was his father?
Yeah.
You know, like I did talk about my 3 closest friends, and they did, 15 to 25. One did 28, this and that. I was the only one of the 3 that had a father in my life, even though my parents were together. But I still had a father who was a gentle man and a good example. And they didn't. We can blame the system if we want, but they didn't lock any of us up at 7.
Yeah.
We were all doing enough to get locked up. At 13, my parents sent me in another direction. They didn't have anybody to help them, and they kept doing what they was doing, and the system got them. So I don't, the system is rigged, but why? All the more reason not to help it.
The number one problem domestically facing this country is a breakdown of the family. And President Obama said it. I didn't. A black kid, or kid, not just a black kid, a kid raised without a dad is 5 times more likely to be poor and commit crimes, 9 times more likely to drop out of school, and 20 times more likely to end up in jail. So you're far more likely to end up in jail without having a dad than you are because of a white racist cop.
Prime example, I got pulled over by the police, come over to my window, flash his light in my face, hand on my pistol. I can handle that 2 ways. I can start yelling and screaming and tell him he a racist and he don't know me. You're doing this wrong. Or I can say, yes, officer, no, officer, are we done, officer?
It's a great clip, folks. I'm back with you live. If you really want to hear the whole thing, and I strongly suggest you do, you need to go What the Left Won't Tell You, and it's newsbusters.org. And concerning our previous president, President Obama, I was really shocked and upset to hear that he says that racism is in the white man's DNA. That's a pretty tough comment. Now, I've not fact-checked that, but I've been told by a couple of different sources that it was a statement that he made. I would hard to believe a man of his reputation would make a statement like that. But the Weather Underground, have you heard of it? And maybe Prairie Fire? Is that something you've ever heard of? We'll talk about that momentarily. But hey, there's a great new movie coming out June 19th, and here's a little bit about that.
I don't remember the actual day, but I remember the emotion that I felt when it happened.
I'm often asked, was there an epiphany? I started asking questions.
As I became more politically aware,
a lot of the way that I saw things began to change.
All of this information I've been taking in for several years.
A continuation of these kind of contradictions.
I had bought into all of these lies.
You begin to see what the real agenda is.
That's usually how that red pilling process begins.
Black America is starting to get it.
People are starting to realize what's going on.
Now, that's a movie called Uncle Tom. It's due to be released, I believe it's June 19th, and should be a great motion picture. Denzel Washington on this movie. Listen to this.
So why did he need a black director? Could a white director not have?
It's not color. It's culture.
Explain the difference, because I think we're
Steven
in a space
Spielberg
right
did Schindler's List.
Mm-hmm.
Martin Scorsese did Goodfellas, right? Steven Spielberg could direct Goodfellas. Martin Scorsese probably could have done a good job with Schindler's List, but they're cultural differences. You know, I know, you know, we all know what it is when a hot comb hits your hair on a Sunday morning, what it smells like.
Huh?
That's a cultural difference, not just a color difference.
All right.
So it's a culture.
You know about a hot comb scenario?
No, she don't know about no hot comb.
Because that's
You don't know.
old
You
school.
don't know nothing about. See how everybody laughed? That's a cultural difference. That's not a race difference. That's just that motion. That's all I gotta say, right?
I know what a hot comb is.
Okay. All right.
And once again, that should be a fantastic movie. It is due to be released. It's called Uncle Tom. It's due to be released June 19th. And stick around. We'll be back with more right after this word. And you're listening to Dean, and this is Loudmouth.
For every winning team, a key to success is learn the playbook. That's true in football, and it's also true as we take on the coronavirus. The spread of the coronavirus is a serious matter, but there's a game plan for keeping residents as safe as possible. Everyone has a role to play as we face this challenge together. Cover your cough with your elbow like this. Wash your hands thoroughly, a full 20 seconds. If you're sick, stay home. If you think you should be tested, phone your health provider first. Avoid close contact with anyone who's sick. Protect your at-risk family members, including the elderly. If you're not at risk, take care as you go about your daily business. Get the facts now from coronavirus.gov and your state health department. We're all in this together. Let's team up to protect our health.
Okay, and that is some good advice. We're going to be wrapping things up here momentarily. Did have a couple of more things I wanted to share with you. I talked about this. Now, keep in mind, this is Terry Churchy. His last spelling on his last name is Turchey. The name of his book is In Their Own Words. Now, what I'm talking about here, this is the Weather Underground. They put it in the Prairie Fire. Now, we take these incidents. Now, what they're talking about here was according to any situation that these groups that are wanting to change or take America down as we know it, any situation that they see racism could take a part or play a part, they just take it and run with it. But what he's talking about when he says they take these incidences as they come, and it says we magnify them. This is how we overthrow the U.S. government. Those words and thoughts have been implemented, and he says they were implemented into the 2016 Democratic platform. Now, President Obama and Eric Holder that talked this week, actually was last week, about their current take on race and what was going on. And he says, don't take his word for it, Google it. Prairie Fire and Black Panther. They had a 10-point plan, and you can make the case, the statements that President Obama and Eric Holder said last week they read or taken exactly almost word for word from those documents. The book is called In Their Own Words. It is a great read. It's by Terry Churchy. And by the way, he was a former FBI director and department director of the counterterrorism group. Now, moving ahead a little bit, Reverend Al Sharpton, he preached, when he did preach and did the eulogy last week at George Floyd's funeral. I couldn't get over the comment he made when he said what happened to George Floyd happens every day in this country. Folks, that is so ridiculous. It doesn't. As I mentioned, and we'll mention again, according to these are their latest FBI statistics from 2019, 10 unarmed black men were killed last year and 20 white men. And by the way, 89 police officers were killed as well. Now, that's the FBI stats. There ain't mine. But due to the systemic racism in law enforcement and the disbanding of the police in our cities, I suggest we pull all security for their protection from the Biden residents, from Obama, from Clinton, from Bush, Pelosi, Schumer. Now, for their own sake, no one else's. And let's see how that works out. Guys, no more security at stadiums. No more security in schools, what you're talking about taking out. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. Maybe you do. And if you do, let me know. And if you'd like to share your mind and thoughts on it, please let me know. Now, coming up, we're going to leave on some good news for the day. We're going to have the song of the week. And I believe this is Mike Campbell. And we're going to feature his song, and we'll do that here in just, let's see here. We'll do that here in just 1 second, okay?
Search for us on social media.
See what happens when you're your own engineer? I'll tell you what, skip that. Let's just go ahead and do that now. This is our featured song of the week.
This is a song that ages pretty well, I think. We got something, we both know it. We don't talk too much about it. Ain't no real big secret. All the same, somehow we get around it. It don't really matter to me, baby. You believe what you wanna believe. See you down, hey, live like a refugee. No, you don't have to live like a refugee. Somewhere, somehow, somebody must have kicked you around some. Who knows, maybe you were tied up, taken away and held for ransom. It don't make no difference to me.
And once again, you're listening to Mike Campbell, featured artist this week, and that is I believe come on, help me out here, folks. No longer with us, artist. Tom Petty. There it is. Tom Petty's song. I'm not going to air much more of it due to the fact he's done such a good job. Algorithms and everything the way they are. YouTube picks it up. They'll just cancel my whole show and put a strike against me. But anyway, you can hear his entire song. Just YouTube Mike Campbell and take a listen to it. Sounds like a really great artist. And if there's a song that you'd like to play or have aired, just let us know, and we'll be more happy to put it on for you. We're going to be back with my take on my last word for the week and our goodbyes to you for this weekend. Stay tuned, and we'll do that here right after this word. Telling God to get out. Recently, Billy Graham's daughter was interviewed by early morning show host Jane Clayson. And she asked, how could God let what's going on with everything in the world right now go on? And then Graham gave an extremely profound and insightful response. She said, I believe God is deeply saddened by this, just as we are. But for years, we have been telling God to get out of our schools, to get out of our government, and to get out of our lives. And being the gentleman that he is, I believe he calmly backed out. Now we expect God to give us his blessing and his protection after we demand he leave us alone. Now, in light of the recent events, the terrorist attacks, school shootings, and everything that's been going on, COVID-19 and the looting, and of course the death of George Floyd. And also think about it, Madeline O'Hara started all this. Her body was recently found, but she got prayer taken out of the schools. And we said, okay, that's fine. And someone said, well, you better not read the Bible in school. The Bible says thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, and love your neighbor as yourself. And we said, okay, yeah, let's get that on out of here. That's not good stuff. Then Dr. Benjamin Spock said we shouldn't spank our children when they misbehave. It could warp their little personalities and we might damage their self-esteem. Dr. Spock's son committed suicide. We said an expert should tell us how to raise our kids, and we said, okay. Now we're asking ourselves why our children have no conscience, why they don't know right from wrong, and why it doesn't bother them to kill strangers, their classmates, themselves, and destroy public property when they don't like how things are being handled. Probably if we think about it long and hard enough, we can figure it out. I think it has been a great deal and a lot to do with we reap what we sow. Funny how simple it is for people to trash God and then wonder why the world's going to hell in a handbasket. Funny how we believe what the newspapers say, but question what the Bible says. Funny how we can send jokes through email, social media, that spread like wildfire. But when you start sending messages regarding the Lord, people think twice about sharing it. How interesting to think about sharing the Lord's word. You know, I'm not going to, make any judgments on any of this. I just wanted to pass this along. But anyway, I thought this was worth mentioning. To each and every one of you, God bless and take care. And we'll be talking to you real soon. This is Dean with Loudmouth. And I will have my closing thoughts right after this.
Every day we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs that can cause Lyme disease and Rocky Mountain spotted fever. Mice searching for sources of food can spread bacteria and disease. Mosquitoes breed in standing water and can transmit illnesses like West Nile virus and Zika virus. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home and can leave behind allergens that trigger asthma attacks. Stinging insects attack in defense of their nests and send more than 500,000 people to the emergency room every year. Household pests are a threat to our health. Learn what you can do to protect your family at pestworld.org.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, we got a lot to think about. We got a lot of healing to do in this country. I thought we were on the right track for a while, and we'll get back on track. We can't hate ourselves out of this one. The protest, they can work if they're positive, folks, and that's what the First Amendment's all about. We can't turn our back on our officers. They have families too, you know? I know back when I first thought about becoming a reserve officer, back in 1996, a lot of years back, man, it was a line to even become a reserve. I would have had to bought my own uniform, which are not cheap. I would have done it free. That's how much I wanted to get out and try to help. I couldn't become a police officer due to the fact I was legally blind by birth in my left eye. But that said, as Dave said last week, this was last week. They're looking for new officers, and they have an application of 3, last he had heard, to look through. I remember, and he said when he come into law enforcement, there would be 50 to 60 people applying. Anyway, positive results come from positive actions. I know it's tough with all the negativity going on right now, but folks, it is what it is, and we are a product of our own environment. They say what you don't know won't hurt you, and there is a little truth to that. But remember, if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. Hey, thanks for joining me. It's going to be a tough week coming up for me personally, but please say a prayer if you have one in you. I need it. My family needs it. In the meantime, get in touch. If you'd like to be on the show, I'd love to have you come on. Join me in the studio. Join me by phone. We can possibly Skype you in. Remember who the engineer is here, okay? In the meantime, y'all have a great week. You stay safe, and God bless y'all. Take care.